We had the pleasure of hearing this gentleman yesterday, but I'm excited to take a deeper dive with you all. As CEO of iTrustCapital, Kevin Maloney works closely with the board of directors and his executive team to define the vision, culture, and strategic direction of their award-winning best-in-class fintech software platform designed to service self-directed crypto IRAs, individual retirement accounts. Kevin has more than 25 years of experience in C-level leadership roles with more than a dozen early, late-stage private and public technology, real estate, blockchain, and financial service companies. Kevin has raised nearly $250 million in capital for various startups, most recently $130 million Series A round for iTrustCapital. And that was led by East Coast growth equity firms Left Lane and HarborVest. Please welcome to the stage once again, Kevin Maloney.
Thanks, Will.
You're welcome.
How are you?
Good, good.
Good to see you.
Well, Kevin, I talked to a lot of people in the hallways, and they're excited we got a chance to have a little bit of a deeper dive. So for those who may not be familiar, let's start with a little bit of your background and how you got started with iTrustCapital.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. If I look at my phone, I'm just checking the scores. I have 2 kids, and they're both playing 4 games today, soccer and baseball. And my little guy's going to be so pumped because his walk-up song when he goes to bat is that song with the horns.
That's great.
So he's going to say, "Dad, that's incredible." So I could just go right now and call it a great day because that song played. So I hope he gets a good hit. So yeah, thanks for having me, Will. It's good to see you again. It is my background. I started off in finance a long time ago in the 90s when I was 10 years old. And I was lucky enough to get into a firm called Pacific Investment Management Company, PIMCO. And we had grown to $2.5 trillion and 2,500 people. And I was there in the early days. And I became the compliance officer for the firm and worked closely with the regulators with the SEC and FINRA. So from inception, the DNA at our firm has always been just compliance as much as, sometimes we're not always a fan of the regulators. It's kind of a hassle, and it's expensive. But for us, because we're on the side of the equation that requires some compliance, it's really important for us. So yeah, that's my background. I've been involved with nearly 24 startups as an investor, a founder, a board member, or an advisor. And I've learned a lot along the way of what to do and what not to do.
When did you join iTrust?
I joined iTrust. I met them in 2019. I was hosting a blockchain conference in Southern California. It's called On-Chain 19. I was a co-chair with a guy named Tim Spangler, a really bright legal blockchain expert. And he walked in with one of his clients, iTrustCapital. And it was before they launched. The platform, the company was founded in July 18. Took about a year to develop the platform. They launched in July 19. And they had raised about $1 million from friends and family, about 1.3 million. And I had met them in May. They were a participant at my conference. We had the SEC chairman, Hester Peirce. She was a keynote, Brian Brooks from Coinbase. And nobody was selling anything. It was really just educational. And so it was just a kind of a safe place for institutions, family offices to come and learn about blockchain. And so I connected with them there. And ironically, the CFO, there was 4 guys from PIMCO at the firm, which I felt gave it a little bit of credibility. There was a guy with the founding CEO at the time, and I sat next to him at PIMCO 23 years ago. He literally sat next to me. And he said, "Oh my gosh, how are you?" And he called me up and said, you gotta help us. We need some help." Wow. And so the fact that I had partners, people I knew and I liked and I trusted, that were, good people playing by the book, made me feel comfortable to get involved. But you never know. You never know who you're going to meet, and so it was a good connection.
That's great. That's great. What is iTrustCapital's value proposition? And talk about how it's an evolution of the current retirement savings market.
Yeah, so for those of you that aren't familiar, iTrustCapital is a software platform that allows you to invest into digital assets through your IRA. And so there's long-term tax advantages, and so it's a platform. We're the on-ramp. We're the on and off-ramp. We're sort of like the on and off-ramp to the freeway. And so we help you get on and off, and you get to choose the car, the lane, and the speed you want to go. And there's bumpers up, wear your seatbelt. But we get paid when you switch lanes, if you will. I'm using a simple analogy, but our value proposition is really, a secure, transparent, compliant platform. And so what we're selling is access. And we figured out a way to seamlessly integrate with vendors that store and provide liquidity and exchange and custody your assets. And I think the differentiator for us was our service. We weren't necessarily first. We weren't the largest. I talked yesterday about humble beginnings. We started with $1 million, and we had a lot of Band-Aid and duct tape on our version 1, platform. But it's a good lesson for me as a serial entrepreneur and maybe others that you don't have to be perfect or the best or the biggest or a $10 or $20 million check behind you. In fact, I would argue we may have failed if we started with more capital. I've raised a lot of money for a lot of companies, and they don't work sometimes. Bad timing, bad luck, bad decisions. Sometimes they don't work, no matter how bad you want it. And this one was that secure, transparent, compliant platform. We're selling access, and at the end of the day, it's what I believe comes down to safety, security, and peace of mind. And if you can deliver safety, security, and peace of mind and not overcharge people, not lose their money for them, right? Our clients can lose their own money, right? It's self-directed. We can't lose it, right? And we don't touch the assets. We don't exchange them. We don't store them. We don't custody them. But we have to make sure our vendors and partners are doing everything by the book. That's why it comes down to that safety, security, and peace of mind.
That's fantastic. How many people do you have now? How many members?
We started with a couple hundred. We turned on the platform and sort of waited and see if anybody showed up. Oh my God, people are out the door. They're asking for candy, right? Like Halloween. And we onboarded the first couple thousand people ourselves early on. Blake Skadron, our founder, who's heavily involved, he is fanatical about the service side. It's one of the reasons we're differentiating. But now we have 200,000 people that have signed up. I would say about 51,000 are very active. We've done close to 10 billion in transactions. And we custody about $3.5 billion in assets. So we're starting to become, we're maturing a little bit in this space, and we're only 5 years old.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
What role do you think crypto will play in the future of retirement savings?
The future of retirement savings, I think the role crypto is going to play is going to be significant. As the asset class matures, as it gets more widely sort of accepted or integrated into the traditional financial ecosystem, I think as the masses like us, I'm just a crypto curious sort of person that's participating, I think that it is going to become more of a standard in retirement planning. Obviously our sort of ideal situation is, we're getting more regulatory clarity. There is more framework. The masses are getting curious. They have access to information. They feel comfortable with the platforms that they're transacting with, that we're not going to run off with someone else's capital. And so that role is interesting. The dynamics are changing, and crypto's playing a pivotal role in the changing of how people look and view on the retirement side. So we've been fortunate enough to be part of that story. And there's 13 trillion in IRA assets out there to be managed in the US. People say we're the biggest. We have 3 billion. And so we're just really small, but we're thankful that we have a chance to be here. And I think the sky's the limit on what we can do together as an industry.
Yeah. Who do you think is the perfect customer for iTrustCapital?
The perfect customer, someone that doesn't call and complain too much. We read every review every day. It's Blake, our founder, reads every review every day. I get calls on a Friday night at 10 o'clock, put my kids to bed. Did you see that low rating? No, I didn't, but I'm gonna go look right now. So we are fanatical. I'm in the In-N-Out Burger drive-through with a car full of kids, soccer and baseball. I don't know how people get my number. And I get old ladies calling me to walk me through the process. They don't know who I am. I don't know who they are. And I ask the kids to be quiet. I'm walking her through. Obviously, we're not making recommendations, but click here, do this, do that. We'll all pick up the phone. We all pitch in. But the perfect customer, in all seriousness, is really that forward-looking individual. These are working professionals across America, 35 to 60. They're not betting the farm. They're mature investors. They've been through multiple cycles. And they're curious enough to want to participate in the blockchain economy because they appreciate the opportunity to possibly get in at the ground floor of some projects. We're not a broker-dealer. We're not a registered investment advisor. We don't make recommendations. We don't have a sales team. We don't pay commissions to anybody. But it is exciting to work with these clients every day that are rolling over their retirement, that are shifting assets. Again, not betting the farm, but they're probably allocating anywhere from 5 to 20% of their portfolio to crypto. But early, from a novice to the soccer moms and dads like me, to the crypto curious, to early adopters and fanatical experts across the board, we see them. And the feedback we get from our clients is incredible. 5 or 10 people could be affected by a glitch on our platform. There's 51,000 people doing things in self-directed manner on our platform. 12 could be affected by a small glitch, and that 12 can feel like 12,000 on Twitter, right? So we have to respond quickly. So we have a decent pulse on what's happening on the market because you all tell us what we're good at and what we're not. It's kind of like my wife, she's, my kids think I'm amazing at building Legos and barbecuing, and my wife, her list is shorter than that, but it's humbling because we get feedback and then we try to iterate quickly based on the feedback. So I encourage, tell us what we're good at, tell us what we're not. We also put out surveys. We go out twice a year and we ask people, what do you like, what do you not like, what would you pay for this, what other assets should we be adding? Even outside of crypto. We never intended to be digital assets only. It's just that we built it. It was good enough to get going, and the wave started happening. And so we got lucky in that regard on the timing perspective. But yeah, our customers are across the board.
Nice. We talk often about compliance and transparency. So how do you navigate that world?
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger here. So as a former compliance guy, it's important. It's not always fun. You can be really penalized on a word or a letter or a sentence from an advertising perspective. We act like a regulated entity. We act like we're going to be a regulated entity someday. We've invited the SEC chairperson to come out, Commissioner Peirce. She landed in Orange County. Don't shoot me, but she went to my old firm at Pacific Investment Management Company, came straight to our office. Said she'd give me 45 minutes. We talked for almost 2 hours. And we talked about transparency, ethics, framework, best practices. So the regulation is really important. It's a necessary thing we have to have on our side of the business because we are working with vendors that are custodying your assets. They're storing your assets. They're holding your assets. So it's really critical to get that right. And we can't cut corners, which is why we want to stay in the good graces. And they're regulating on the tax reporting, on how we communicate across the board. So it's a necessary thing. I think it's hard to be compliant. It's expensive. But if it's in your DNA from inception, we don't mind. We've spent millions on legal and compliance, and I think it's harder for others to compete. And we assume it's going to be commonplace down the road.
Excellent. Well, say somebody in this room is not currently one of your customers. How do they get started?
If you are interested in sort of long-term balanced approach to retirement planning, I'm not making recommendations, but do your own due diligence. Figure out who you want to align with from a brand perspective. iTrustCapital is not the only option. There's a couple decent other players out there. We think we're winning because we're not overcharging. We're really transparent about our strengths and weaknesses. You all tell us what our weaknesses are. And we appreciate that. We're also winning because we pick up the phone with a smile and we'll answer your email in almost real time. We just hired another 30 client servicing agents. So if you have talented people that are curious and want to participate, we're always hiring. And I think that's why we're winning. So iTrustCapital.com, love to work with anybody out there. We're going to be adding 20 to 30 more options over the next 90 to 120 days. We're launching some new products and services second half of this year. And just excited to be here, humbled by all of the support we've had in the industry.
Fantastic. Are you going to mingle for a little while?
I'm going to hang out. I'm missing 2 soccer games and 2 baseball games. So I'm on Game Changer, I'm on live video, and I missed a football game last night. But I get the updates from my wife and kids. So I'm here to hang out, and I just want to say thanks for having me and appreciate you having a look at iTrustCapital.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Maloney.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. We'll see you in the back.